Welcome back here with the drawing session, working on 5-point perspective with a pyramid in the right hemisphere of this elongated 5-point perspective. If there were a perfect perspective 5-point, you would probably see it in a spherical shape, but my paper is not a square, so since I wanted to do this in a landscape style piece of paper, I stretched the the sphere, so it's kind of more like an egg shape, you might think. Um, and so let's take a deeper dive in here and see what we've got. So it took a while because I really wanted to make sure I was getting accuracy. And I pretty much sketched out what you can still see remains here at the top, coming down through about there. And I'll have to maybe try to overlay a photograph of it from before and after, since I did this all on one piece of paper. But from what we can see, actually, my guesstimation was pretty spot on, but I don't remember exactly if this is where. But this is generally where the line and was everything was arcing, um, but I think it was a little bit more further refined by this exercise. I definitely could see how things are working, and it's a lot of fun. So I basically decided, well, if I'm having a hard time, the problem is the slope, okay? Because the slope of this pyramid is kind of like, it's actually not even 45 degrees. It's less, I believe, um, or more depending on which way you're looking at it, I guess. But um, I feel like we'd be talking about a more acute angle, because it wouldn't be wider; it'd be more acute. But this is um, this is what I was thinking. Is basically like I'm gonna draw a cube, a series of cubes stacking up, and I was really thinking of drawing like some larger cubes, but it didn't really work out that way. I don't know. Well, because I drew some large ones here, but they immediately got really tiny as soon as they zapped away towards the vanishing points here and there. So we found that my giant cubes needed to get bigger, and maybe my pyramid needed to get bigger. So I actually extended these lines out here, following out there, thinking maybe if we actually had casing stones that made everything smooth, you would have this line basically coming all the way through. Kind of got a erase there. And it'd be coming down to this edge. But it didn't really make it. Well, maybe it did. Honestly, I guess it worked. And I just realized I should probably have the microphone a little closer to me. Okay. And so here we are. I wound up basically drawing each brick of the pyramid, which was kind of a joke at first, but I guess I thought, what the hell, why not? I thought let's at least get the perimeter and see what happens from there. And it wasn't that hard actually from there. It made more sense to me to do it in the smaller iterations. But I think if you were to say, like, I don't know, if you were to trace some of these out, they would probably, let's get a lighter pencil though. I don't want to mark this up too bad with the quick exercise, but since all of this is kind of in the name of exercising and getting better, let's see if we kind of just raise this up. I mean, it would make sense. I try to keep the cubes fairly similar in size, but you know, the problem here as well is that as you're as we're moving along any of these, it's pretty much anywhere you go, but especially the further you get away from the center of a 5 point perspective drawing, the less like normal and 1 point it looks, because mostly you're kind of just being pulled back by this 1 point. This is, if you have a 1 point perspective drawing, this is the only perspective line that everything goes to, and you don't get this warping effect. But here we are with 5, so there's 4 more surrounding, and they're all stretching and grabbing at different angles and areas of the other lines. So you can't always depend on things being the same size. For, if you're talking about a cube or square, whatever, that's right here, it's going to be warped and arced by the time it gets up here. So you have to kind of keep that in mind, and that definitely adds a whole new dimension, no pun intended, on the stressors involved in getting this job done. So anyways, it worked out pretty cool, pretty good. I tried going up one brick by brick, kind of like here we are. You can kind of still see that happening. But what wound up happening too is once I started drawing the lines for these levels, because remember each of these bricks here go across and are levels, and they started covering themselves up about the point that here they started covering up the next level for a while, and then it kind of returned a little bit more towards the top. And so that was kind of strange for me. I don't know if that's like it's a weird geometry that I'm just not expecting. So I don't know if that's just an error or not. I might have pushed myself to the limits of my abilities. I really wasn't trying to go too anal, but at the same time, I do want precision. I'm aiming to see what we can achieve. Let's see, like right there, the line still appears. So what was I thinking? Let me see. What happens if we follow these lines out? We're gonna follow these lines out, folks. Give me 1 second. Make sure I don't hit the wrong line. These don't look too bad. Oh, right, yeah, see, so we almost lost them. It's like they started big, then they kind of almost disappeared here. And remember, I'm just trying to follow the same geometry, the same spacing for the most part, but also allowing for a little bit of warp. So maybe that's it, is I missed the warp there. Is that the problem? Oh shoot. Almost had this one here. See, that's a line. It's a very good line. Just throw another one here, actually, even though I didn't have one. I feel like the one belongs. So yeah, if these were, see, perhaps I might have jumped the gun there. I felt like a line should go there, right? See, sometimes your instincts kick in. Sometimes your instincts are wrong, because this is 5 point. It's counterintuitive. It's perspective drawing. Alrighty. So, right, okay, see, I can still see here now how this happened. I think some of this was error of me not warping. Some of it's a little bit of error of like shapes not being the right size perhaps, and then maybe just a little bit of not warping. I think I've kind of figured it out. But for the sake of time and energy and all this and that, because nobody's going to care that much, we learned a lesson, but we can kind of just fill it in. All right. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're just going to fill these boxes in because honestly, this is the way to do it anyway. A real pyramid in the Giza plateau, they all had strangely shaped blocks. All of the blocks, all these giant blocks, some of them were bigger and some of them were smaller, but they weren't like stacked in a perfect pattern actually, the way I'm kind of drawing them right now. That's actually something that as I go in to detail them, I'm going to have to do things like kind of, hey, break these up a little, maybe, something like that. But yeah, anyways, let's just fill this in. We've gotten very anal about this. Extremely anal. No need. Okay, maybe there was a need. It was fun. Ooh, let's see. Always got to be watching for those other perspectives. So a lot of times I actually have to draw something wrong and then remember and then draw it right, because you just start, these weird perspective lines start approaching on you. They just start creeping up on you, like how my voice is probably doing on this microphone. Yeah, I don't want it to. Let's do it like right there. Maybe I don't need to be so loud anyway, right? Now that I think about it, a little bit of more of a soothing voice might help. Now, okay. I might need to get like a microphone set up. I might just use my lapel mic for one of these. Well, that's adding a whole nother dimension of problems. I just got this setup figured out. I think I'm going to stick with this setup for a while because it's been killing me trying to get it started, but I've had this strong urge for a long time to kind of share the drawing process and share what I'm doing here, because I don't know, it's lonely here, I guess. No, but I also hope that other people can benefit from it. I think that's always the coolest thing, is when you can put something out there, something that you learned, and then somebody else can kind of maybe not make so many of the same mistakes that you made. There's beauty in that process of the participation of the World Wide Web. So anyways, up here at the top, we do have a capstone. It would probably be about here, I'd say. Maybe, well, we are looking at it from very, we're looking at it from very low, but I think you'd still kind of notice it. Maybe it'd be a little bit more like right there. Or right there. What do you think? What do you think? I think like that, actually. Yeah, it would be harder to see because because it would be so much further away, and it's all warping and stretching and being pulled away by these other perspective lines. That was actually a pretty good line. Went a little overboard there. And see, this was a line that I drew there that kind of worked for a while. Just kind of a through line just to kind of see if things were lining up. I was exploring more of this here at one point. I really wanted to see if I can get each edge, basically each of these stacks, the way these are lining up here. I was wondering if I could connect them and see how they line up here. And now I can. for the most part. I mean, I only connected a few actually. I connected like these four here and then a couple of these at the top, I guess you could say. And all this in the middle is actually excavated right now. Well, I never drew the outer side. I kind of drew like an inner uh, pyramid here. So I guess I should maybe explain a little of that. It does look as if you can kind of see the ground floor here with some, some kind of like pillars or whatever, and these are the outer stones. But these pillars are kind of holding up the next level, and then you have like kind of, yeah, again, you're kind of seeing like the skeleton. This is the center, and this was also a kind of a key stone for me because I was looking for something to anchor around. So I thought, well, let me find the center. Okay, yeah, so this was the thinking behind it. When drawing anything in 5-point perspective, you want to find the center of it. You want to find the center and then the cube that surrounds it, or the rectangle-ish cube, rectangular prism that surrounds it. And then you draw that. And then once you've drawn the rectangular prism or cube that whatever object is that you're trying to represent is in that, once you have that field, that matrix, then you can put it in there. And then that's a fun process. That's actually the hard part, of course. That's where all the detailing and figuring out, okay, where do these lines go and all that, right? And so I winged it. You can get pretty good at winging it if you kind of understand the tricks and what's going on. And if you've maybe just kind of observed a bit by looking at fisheye photography, that's actually helped me a lot more than anything else, is looking at fisheye photography of pyramids and stuff. I never found a photograph in the way that I wanted, but I found some that were pretty close, and it looked pretty much just like what I got here. So, and I looked at those afterwards, so that's kind of cool too. I guess that was also part of the exercise. This is something that I do often, is I guess I will challenge myself to do something without looking up the answer necessarily in a certain way. Like I basically pushed myself to figure out how this would look before going into all my references. And then I actually made a pyramid in my 3D program and kind of messed with the focal lens with that and tried it. But all kinds of things you can do. And all of this, I guess, in the name of just understanding perspective better, because I have this interrogative nature about me that when I pursue a question, I'm just like, I don't like not finding the answer. It really bugs me, actually, to be so wrapped up in a question and then not have the answer, not be able to find it on the internet anywhere, not know anyone or any professionals who would be able to answer your question without, of course, a fee or something. Maybe I need to get on that Manect thing that Patrick Bet David talks about. Anyways, getting a bit off topic here, but just wanting to, point out that these challenges are good for us. I think they're important. I think it means a lot to push yourself into learning things and to trying things that you might suck at. So I've kind of drawn the outline around it, but now it's almost just for schematical purposes. because I kind of like the exposed, this kind of showing this outer and inner pyramid, which some pyramids, some Aztec pyramids were built in steps like that. But I kind of like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just gonna let it sit like this for a little while so I can enjoy it. But I always do kind of enjoy just kind of this armature of architecture and seeing like just half developed ideas. Sometimes there's something really interesting about seeing like a thought process and just kind of having that moment, perhaps when enough was investigated, and then we can let go and move on to something else. But my initial idea was to kind of just draw a pyramid here and have it in construction. So it's a strange idea to think of the pyramid construction happening where there's already a top, and then there's like layers, and they're kind of building it out to a corner. Who's to say they didn't, right? Like that's maybe just a new construction concept. I don't think that's how it was done though, but I don't know. I might erase a bunch of this shit. I don't know. Let me know if you think I should. But I'm probably gonna try to find a way to work with what I've done, because it sucks when you just like do a bunch of work for nothing. But there's been documentation of that, so that's kind of cool. So now I think we are gonna move on a little bit over to the left side. So we're going to take a look at this for a moment and think, what I was thinking about is putting Thoth or somebody, a character nearby who's going to be kind of just, basically whipping the slaves into motion. No, I don't know. He actually probably won't be doing that. He'll be directing them though. He'll be giving them, and they're, I don't know. I'm not sure about the slave. I always like to throw in a couple different versions into this world, because I feel this world is so confused, as all are. Just bringing back a few of these lines. I'm going to think on this and take a quick break. And let's see how this all came out anyway. Hopefully, maybe there was something useful in here. And yeah, we'll be back soon. Don't you worry. Oh, look, there's Thoth. Thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed, please hit like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Also, if you want to support me as a content creator, as a artist, as a creator of culture, what art has always been throughout history, then if you think my voice has value, if you value free-thinking artists who push themselves to the limits, then please head on to patreon.com/VincentFink. You can start at the price of a cup of coffee per month and will far exceed the monetary value of your investment with art gifts. So please check it out, and thank you very much for watching today, and we'll see you in the next vid.